I'm Ryan Walters, that other podcast host that you hate the most, and you're listening to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix.
It is Saturday, December 24th, 2022, 8 a.m. sharp. Ho, 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 motherfuckers. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast. I am one of your lovely hostesses, the Garlock Johnson. We are joined, as always, by our other lovely hostess, the Joshua Mitchell. Josh, say hi to the folks out there.
Guten Tag.
Are you podcasting live from Germany this morning?
Yeah, da. Maybe, I don't know. That's the extent of my German, and da might have not even been German.
Da is
yeah,
Russian.
Well, I'm pretty sure that da is in every language. It's just a different meaning. Gar.
Okay.
Dumbass.
I don't think da is in English, actually. But all right, before whatever rant you're going to go on, we appreciate the people in the Discord. Second start times in the description below. Thank you at Levi Oki Illustration and Josh. You can return to what you're saying, or you can tell me how you're doing.
Hi, Darren. How are you?
You know what? I'm doing good, Josh. It's fucking Christmas Eve, pal. I'm not sure we've ever podcasted on Christmas Eve before. I honestly don't know.
Yeah. I guess I couldn't tell you. I could, but I won't.
Come on, Josh. You're not a historian. You don't remember every podcast we've ever done? Some fan you are, dude.
Yeah, well, there's always one.
You excited for Christmas, Josh?
Yeah. Are you good?
No, I've been on the naughty list like 10 years in a row, so it's the way she goes.
I mean, that's a given, but I mean, are you still excited to laugh at people who don't get what they want?
No, because I'd be laughing at myself, right? Although a nice lump of coal to heat my house didn't sound too bad this year. Jesus Christ. Cold outside,
what?
Josh.
I did not hear what you just said, by the way.
I said a nice lump of coal to heat my house sounds nice this year. Jesus Christ, it's cold outside.
Okay, now I heard you. Yeah, no, I'm sure you're gonna get what you want. Don't worry. But yeah, how are you, Guard? Do you have any plans for the weekend? Are you coming down to the cities? Are you in the cities? Are you gonna go to the North Pole and slap that fat guy in the face for not giving you what you want? What's the plan?
He's coming to me, right? Regardless, he drops off the coal or the gifts, right? So I don't really need to go up to the North Pole because he very conveniently would come to my house. As of this morning, 8 a.m., 8:02 a.m., 8:03 a.m., I am still up in Detroit Lakes. We've had some pretty rough weather the last couple days, and I don't know, I guess I just decided it would be the best to come down today versus the last 2 days when there's the winter storm warning and the blizzard warnings and the cold weather advisories and all this and that. So it's like, all right, well, I'll just wait till Saturday and hope some of the worst of it is behind us. So I will be right after the podcast. I got a shower, and then I hope I get on the road by 9ish, but we'll see. But yeah, no, I'm going to my aunt's house. I go for my dad's side. We always do stuff Christmas Eve. Conveniently, there's a Vikings game today, so I don't have to talk to my family. I don't have to pretend to like them. Just sit there and watch the Vikings and shit on my dad for having bad football takes, and then eat some food, and then just go retire home. I'll retire back to my dad's house rather than watch some more Vikings football, or not Vikings football, some more NFL football, and then go to my mom's house tomorrow. How about you, pal? What's on the Christmas docket?
Well, immediately after the podcast, Nikita's going to whip me into shape and have me change into clothes to head down to her parents because we are planning on being there this morning. The game plan was to originally be that. Yeah, this after morning podcast. The game plan had initially been to be there like around 9:30, but with the podcast and priorities, we are going to be leaving a little bit later just so we can get on the road. The roads weren't too good yesterday. Probably not good yet today. I saw the snowdrift that Walters probably staged on his deck. But
got the leaf blower. I was like, all right, fuckers, let's drift this shit.
Yep, no, it's pretty much a guarantee. Yeah, so I figured we'd be going down there, open some gifts, let Asher open some gifts. Bringing the dogs with, let them open some gifts. Odin's actually pretty solid. He opened up a cake tray that had a glass top, didn't even break it, and it was sitting on top of something. It was pretty impressive.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but so we're gonna head on down there, you know, after the pod, and then we will, um, and then we'll probably head back and enjoy some football as well.
Right on, man. Well, do you want to get right into the start sit then? Got plenty to talk about today.
Yeah, so last week we went 4 for 5, solid week, guard. The only one that we messed up on was the trashy quarterbacks, which I'm fine with because hopefully we never had to stoop that low. But 4 out of 5 with a positive 35.5 point differential. Overall on the season, we are 45 out of 74 with a positive 173.53, which is ironically the number that Bradley is probably going to score against me this weekend in the semis.
Oh, no.
But so we're, it's not like the 45 out of 74 is not the most uplifting number, but that differential is pretty solid. So, even if we didn't get the win, we probably only lost by like a couple points here and there.
Right.
This week during the, we don't have FanDuel. FanDuel's dead because Christmas. Santa stomped on that.
Santa murdered FanDuel this week, dude.
And then it found out that Santa also used his other boot to stomp on the Narfle, which is how I pronounce the NAR Fantasy Football League's page.
The NRA, Josh? Jesus, who's in your pockets?
But that's to be determined later. But their challenge is not going on due to Santa's boot as well. So I changed things up a bit. We're going to be sitting at 45 out of 74 for another week. And instead, we're just going to go ahead and go through, and we're going to do pod picks on movies that are Christmas themed.
Caramel Bear, get ready. Caramel Bear happens to be listening live. I didn't even know about this.
Didn't plan it this way, but yeah. And so, we may get some feedback from other podcast hosts that do their own little draft thing, and then we'll just have to point out, we had something very similar to this prior to them taking that idea. So it's not a draft; it's just us picking what we'd rather watch.
Yeah, it's start sit of movies. It's not no Mount Rushmore. It's no draft.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and go with Joe Burrow's childhood to start. Which is just going to be Home Alone or Home Alone 2. Gar, do you have a preference between the two Home Alones? And we're going to say that those are the only two because they technically are, because the other ones shouldn't exist.
I mean, they're the only two with the national treasure Macaulay Culkin in them. My initial thought is you got to stick with the OG, right? Home Alone, not even Home Alone 1, just Home Alone. We got the wet bandits, not the sticky bandits. I do love watching Kevin run around New York and all the hijinks he gets into in the toy store and this and that. But it's really hard to beat the original. You got the Chicago neighborhood, the kids, he's watching movies, he's doing all the shit he could never do because he's just some little twerp kid. I really strongly feel like we have to start the original Home Alone and then sit Home Alone 2, only because you're making me choose between the two. Obviously, Home Alone 1 and 2 are better than a lot of movies you have on this list, but if you're making me sit between Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2, I would like to stick with the OG, Josh, but I would love to hear if you have a different take.
So Dakid and I actually just went through and watched both of them over the past couple of weekends because it had been years since we had seen them. I do enjoy Home Alone and Home Alone 2 kind of equally. I didn't put them because they would blow any of the other movies on this list out of the water, in my opinion. And so it's it is a tough decision between these two, but Home Alone 2, the bird lady, it's like, okay, yeah, bird lady's pretty cool. She sicked birds on people, which was awesome. But then Home Alone 1, like you said, he's getting all the hijinks and everything. They're the wet bandits. Just for the one scene alone where he's absolutely struggling to get up the icy steps and his feet are going all over the place.
Yeah.
Both sets of steps. Gotta go with that one. Gotta go with the original. The scene, I do enjoy the bricks off the roof in 2, where it's just 4 bricks right after another. That first one would have killed a guy, but but the second one, has its moments a little bit too much. I think that the hotel clerk was a little bit too excessive. So I'm going to go with Home Alone, the original as well.
Oh, all right. I'm glad we could come to a consensus here. I'm sure Caramel Bear is absolutely eviscerating us in the chat. But shout out to Home Alone 1. It gets start, and Home Alone 2 will stay on the bench.
Keep the change,
that is very
filthy
true.
Animal.
Caramel Bear just did point out that one had John Candy, which
right, yeah.
that alone should have gotten it the win.
Absolutely.
Moving on, we're going to go to the movies with the consistency of CMC this season, at least in the eyes of many. Elf or the Grinch. And we can, if the Grinch, you want to go with the Jim Carrey version, feel free. If you want to go with the classic cartoon, feel free.
I mean, I just had to ask. I feel like we have to be very specific with their. I mean, maybe we don't, but I feel like it's the Jim Carrey Grinch and then the newest Grinch with like Benedict Cumberbatch and then the old cartoon. Like, there's a lot of Grinches. I think we should be specific on which Grinch we're putting Elf up against.
Okay, so I did forget about the one that most recently came out. So let's just go with Jim Carrey because I feel like that's whenever someone says the Grinch, that's what I think of.
Me too, and that fucks me up a little bit. I mean, Elf is really. I mean, they're obviously two different movies, very tonally, right? Like at the end of the day, they're both Christmas stories, but the Elf is just like this. God. My heart. I mean, you go first this time, Josh. Actually, I went first last time, but I don't even know if I'll have time to decide. Well, you go first.
Yeah, they've got a different tone to it. They're both Christmas movies. They both got kind of that positive vibe at the end. The Grinch's heart grows, which technically is a disease that could kill him. But the elf, he's in search of his father. Hope you find your dad.
Bye, buddy.
But I mean, I guess. If I'm going just based off of what I've seen the most recently and seen the most often, it's got to be Elf. Both of them pretty solid movies, which is why they're in the CMC consistency category. But I got to go Elf just because nobody quotes the Grinch as much as people do the Elf movie. So, and I quote Elf quite a bit with "Hope you find your dad."
I think I quote the Grinch. I mean, what quotes do you use? I mean, I do love the quotes that Carl Bear put in the chat. I think I quote the Grinch more in my everyday life, so Elf gets benched, unfortunately. I mean, that's Carl Bear's start sit. That doesn't represent the podcast, unfortunately, for Carl Bear. We are, yeah, I mean, I do love the, like, what shall I wear? I do love that quote from the Grinch, but I don't get to use it very often because I live alone. So while I'm getting ready, not many other people can hear me say that, but... yeah, I mean, I'm a big Will Ferrell fan, and that's not to say I don't enjoy Jim Carrey, but without even sitting here and giving this strong analysis, I think we all know that the tail of the tape, the Elf, I mean, maybe the Grinch, because of all the different iterations, is more successful in totality, but Elf is just such an absolute classic. It's a modern day classic. It's a classic like we kind of grew up with, whereas the Grinch was around long before most of us were born, right? So, I think we have to, at least the Grinch, the character. So I feel like I have to go with Elf as well.
Oh my God!
Yeah. So thank you,
All
you,
right.
Will Ferrell, for that treat.
Moving on to the next, we've got a couple movies from Tom Brady's high school years, some of his favorites from high school, according to his yearbook, both coming out in the 1960s. We've got A Charlie Brown Christmas or A Christmas Story. Gar?
So this is, Caramel Bear is not going to like me very much, okay? Caramel Bear is not going to like what I have to say. These are two Christmas movies that I don't really care about. And so, whether I know A Christmas Story is the age-old classic and Caramel Bear is about to eviscerate me in the chat. I can feel the heat coming from his keyboard through Indiana. But, I mean, Charlie Brown, I mean, obviously, whatever the guy's name is, something Schultz, he's from Minnesota, so I should probably care about that just a little bit more just because the guy's from here, right? Made the Peanuts cartoons, but I don't really care about Charlie Brown Christmas or A Christmas Story. So if you feel strongly in a direction, I would love for you to represent the pod, but I really don't care about either of these two.
Yeah, both classics. Charlie Brown Christmas is going to be my vote. As far as A Christmas Story, I've probably seen it once my entire life. It's not one that necessarily... Yeah, I'm pretty sure Caramel Bear just unfriended me on every sort of social media and banned me from the metaverse.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But A Charlie Brown Christmas, I mean, if it's got Snoopy and it's got Charlie... It's got me and my attention. So I'm going to go with the Charlie Brown Christmas just because, Charles M. Schultz, And so that's got to be the road that I go.
Oh my God! I shot my eye out.
Son of a bitch.
It's a great quote from A Christmas Story, but Charlie Brown Christmas will take the day. All right, Josh, next we have George Kittle's movie collection, okay? And is his Christmas movie collection, to be clear?
Yeah, these are his only Christmas movies on his shelf. And so we've got Die Hard or Jingle All the Way. Both of them starring action heroes.
All right, and yeah, I mean, so Die Hard, controversial whether it's a Christmas movie or not, and then we have Jingle All the Way. Again, Josh, I don't. This is not really I'd say a fight I have any sort of stakes in. I would go with Jingle All the Way just because the title is more Christmassy, and I know it's more of an actually Christmas themed movie, whereas Die Hard just happens to be, Die Hard is more of a coincidence Christmas movie. So I guess, how do you feel about this? I'm leaning Jingle All the Way, but again, without much of a dog in the fight.
Yeah, I'm leaning Jingle All the Way as well. If I'm I pulled these movies randomly off of a list of Christmas movies, which is why we don't see some of the all-time classics like Rudolph or
fucking Frosty the Snowman, dude.
Frosty or Jack Frost, or I don't even know. There's so many. I was just gonna have a Hallmark category and put like 100 different movies on there that all have the same exact theme, same exact looking people, same exact storyline. But I didn't want to do that to us, so I'm gonna go Jingle All the Way. Arnold Schwarzenegger is in it.
The Meister Burger. That one. Stop. What is it? It's not claymation. It's stop motion. That one's a classic. All right, Josh, we've got our final category here for the start sit. Jingle All the Way takes that last category. We have the boom or we have the bust, Josh. So the last three Christmas movies we have here, we have A Muppet's Christmas, we have Bad Santa, and we have A Nightmare Before Christmas. Some people can argue about whether that's a Halloween movie or not, or whether that's a Christmas movie. Josh, how do you feel here?
Yeah, so as he said, these are the boomer busts. These are ones that kind of appeal to a certain group of people. But Muppets being more of a family Muppet movie. We've got Bad Santa, which is more of a comedy adult Christmas theme. And then Nightmare Before Christmas, like you said, it's got Christmas in the title, but it's technically kind of more of like that Halloween type phrase. I'm gonna go with Muppets. Muppets is one of those classics growing up. Gotta go with that one. Just because they're just a bunch of Muppets and puppets, and they're getting into shenanigans. So that's gonna take my vote. They got some moments, and so that's gonna
Walters. I do love the participation in the chat between Walters and Carmel this morning. We just have, again, we didn't even tell Carmel Bear we were doing movies instead. I didn't even know we were doing movies until like 7:50. So I do appreciate you guys blowing up the chat though. And Walters, your wife is going to hate you regardless, not just for the fact that you are not here to please the people. But Josh, I think, let's see if this sounder's any good quality. I haven't had a chance to preview it, but let's see if this sounder will represent how I feel, because we might have a controversy here at the end.
What do you want? What are you doing? God damn it.
Oh, okay. That sounder was not as long as I thought it was, but that was from Bad Santa. If you're gonna make me choose between the three, I like Bad Santa. Of course, it's more of an it's an anti-hero film. But who doesn't love a good little kind of a heist movie, and also this like little kid getting taken advantage of by this older man? It's a bit of a different theme. If we're trying to go for family friendly, I understand what you're saying with The Muppets Christmas, but if you're gonna make me choose between these three, I think I like Bad Santa a lot more. So I don't know. We're kind of at an impasse here. What do we do, pal?
Well, in the spirit of Christmas, I think that we should just, do what is right and say that I'm correct. No, I'm just kidding. I guess I never really expected it to be a pick that we can agree on all of them. It just happened to turn out that way for most of them. And so if we wanted to go a separate route on this one, that's completely fine. I just know that I'd probably seen A Muppet's Christmas and Bad Santa once or twice in my entire life, and they both have their moments. But when I think of A Muppets Christmas, I also remember all of their other movies, and just being a fan of them growing up. So that's kind of where my nostalgia kicks in.
All right. We can move on from the start. Sid, I do want to mention one of my all-time favorite characters from any Christmas movie ever. I've already mentioned his name, but the Meister Burger. I think that's one of the most hilarious names in movies ever, and it happens to be from a Christmas movie. So, and also shout out to the island of misfit toys. Wouldn't be much of a Christmas without some misfits out there. So I know that's from Rudolph, but I just wanted to shout out those kind of honorable mentions for me. Josh, you've already mentioned it. The FanDuel is dead this week. All the games are played on Saturday. I tried to fix the FanDuel so it would be open on Saturday. I changed the setting on Wednesday, I think it was. Wednesday or Thursday, I changed the setting, and it is now Saturday morning, and absolutely nothing has changed. So there's nothing I can do about it. We might have some Saturday games next week. I don't know, because it says the settings only change on Tuesdays at 7 a.m. So we'll see what happens next Tuesday. But the FanDuel is dead this week. I tried to, but at least it's equal for everyone, I guess. But that's the way she goes. Moving on to some sleeper over-under contest, Josh. You said you retired, but I figured we need to fill the content hole just slightly. So I like Mahomes over 16.5 rushing yards. He's gone over that the majority of the season for sure, even if he hasn't the last week or two. And then I do love Geno, staying in the same game. I do love Geno going over 266.6 rushing and passing yards combined. They're playing Kansas City. In theory, the game script should be Geno needs to do a lot, whether it's on his legs or through the air. So I like Geno hitting the over on his yardage. Not that the Seahawks are going to win, but just that they'll be playing from behind. I know, Walters. I know. There's not much I can do about it. So, but sleeper over under. And Josh, you've retired yet again. Do you want to speak to your retirement for any reason, or?
Well, I just think that it should be noted that I stink at over under. But I have not retired from the daily draft. I know that the payouts on that is kind of bogus for the $1 that you spend for if you're just doing the basic one. But, last week I think I entered in 6 contests and I won in 3 of them. So this week I entered in 3. And so I'm just going to keep sticking to that and seeing if I can, dink and dunk and nickel and dime my way back up to a couple G's.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we will move on here then to the weekly preview. We could definitely stretch out some content in here because it is the playoffs, and it is a big deal for our fantasy league. So, Josh, we have we'll just go get right into the playoff matchups here. We've got Nikita first, the Cup of Tea playing at Running Up the Hill, and there's a good chance you don't have ESPN open yet, so I can just sit here and vamp for a second, but we can definitely take a minute or two to sit here and go through the players and the matchups. There's only, 2 meaningful matchups left, and there's only, 1 next week, so we can take a couple minutes here, especially since we didn't talk about FanDuel, but I've probably vamped enough. You're probably much closer to getting the FanDuel up, but as you alluded to, I believe on our Tuesday night show, currently Eric, running up that hill, Mr. Eric Szymanski, is projected to beat your wife by a good 30 points, maybe 35 points. So how does Nikita feel? Of course, Lamar Jackson's still out. Kirk Cousins put up huge numbers last week, unlikely to happen again this week. Of course, Eric has Tyreek Hill. That's his kind of namesake player. So how's Nikita feeling? Does she feel the doom and gloom? Does she feel like there's hope? Because obviously neither of them have had a player go yet, so there's still 540 minutes of player time for crazy shit to happen. But how is Nikita feeling? And then we'll go ahead and go through a couple players here.
She is pessimistic, but she's been that way for quite some time. She doesn't have her top 2 picks. She lost Cooper Kupp a while back, and now Lamar Jackson isn't playing. So, I tell her, the fact that you made it this far is pretty impressive, because losing your first round pick with Cooper Kupp early on and then still managing to win games and end up in the semis is pretty impressive. Just kind of goes to show that she's got that skill when it comes to finding players, picking players, and setting lineups. That being said, Eric's team is one of those ones where when you looked at preseason, you're probably just like, I guess I could see this going 500. And now that we're looking at it, we're like, I guess I could see this going undefeated. And so it's like, okay, buddy, ease up on this. And so that we're just going to say, Eric's got kind of the advantage in most positions. I would say there might be 1 or 2 where I'd prefer one of Nikita's players, but Yeah, did you want to go through any of those players?
I mean, it's just, so Eric's weakest player, I'd say for sure, is James Conner. Just looking up and down the lineup here, he's got Brady, Jacobs, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, T.J. Hawkinson, Chris Godwin in the flex in the Browns defense, and then Nikita. Yeah, she just doesn't have. She just doesn't have that name power. Of course, we already talked about Cousins. Aaron Jones has been hit or miss at points this season. Tony Pollard's really been a bright, shining star, but they're playing Philly this week. Who knows kind of how that game script could go? Do they pound the rock a lot? Does Pollard get a lot of catches? Who can really say? T. Higgins playing New England. I'm not excited about that. George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth did literally nothing last week. Adam Thielen. So I don't know. I know I just kind of listed off all the players without going too deep into any of the matchups, but Josh Jacobs and Tyreek Hill should really carry this for Eric, and so I think that could be, I think it's possible that Eric has 3 or 4 players that beats Nikita's entire starting lineup, and that's not to say anything about Nikita's lineup necessarily, but that's because these players on, Eric's lineup are so powerful. They have that kind of power to put up, 30 to 40 each, depending on how big of a day they have.
Yeah, Jamar Chase is still wide receiver 11 in PPR after missing 4 games. So it's like, okay. He's got that star power with Jacobs, Chase, and Hill. Nikita's got a solid set of running backs. Aaron Jones, he may not have been up to, expectations at times, but he still is RB9 on the season in our league, and Pollard is RB7. So she's got 2 top 10 running backs on her squad, which is great considering her first 2 picks were not running backs. Those 2 have probably been keeping her alive for the most part. So they're going to have solid games. Obviously, they get a little bit tougher matchups, or Pollard does at least. Jones has Miami. So I do think that Eric definitely has that star power and the matchup, favorable matchup.
All right, so to put in our official pick here, do you like your wife or do you like Eric?
I love my wife. And I do. I love my wife, but as far as fantasy football wise goes, I got to go with Eric. I'm sorry, Nikita.
All right, I will also take Eric, but let the record show that Carmel Bear in the chat says my money is on Nikita. So Nikita, you're not alone. You do have a bear of caramel in your corner. Let's move on, Josh, to your matchup. We have What'll They Do Next? Bradley Knupp, the 6th seed, playing Pack Lives Matter, the 19-9 second seed from Josh Mitchell. We've talked about it a lot. Bradley is carried by Patrick Mahomes and the gang. He's got Mahomes, McKinnon, who has been a rocket the last couple weeks, Travis Kelce as well, and then Harrison Butker, probably not as splashy of a kicker. I believe he's not the kicker one, but
he's kicker 27.
Yeah. Okay, so Bradley just has him on there to be funny, probably. And then you, Josh, you have the fantasy starlight of the second half of the season, and Justin Fields leading your squad here. Travis Etienne already put you up a nice 14 points. The Jaguars defense, surprising probably some people, put you up 19 points. Of course, Zach Wilson does stink, but currently the projection is Bradley is projected 125.9, so just call it 126. And after that defensive performance from the Jaguars, you gained a nice 13 points. So you're currently projected to beat Bradley by 6. 133, or no, what is that? 7. No, it's 7. 133 to 126. Yep. So you're currently projected to beat Bradley. A lot of football yet to play, but how do you feel about that strong performance by your defense, and do you think you can overcome Bradley's chief dominance here? And Jalen Waddle has been pretty good too.
Well, yeah, the defense was a nice little surprise considering that I plucked them in at around 7-10 on Thursday night. Yeah, because I had the Eagles, and the Eagles are going up against Dallas this week, and so I was like, I don't know. Dallas has been kind of hot on offense, so I'm going to go ahead and sit this one out. I'll put it in Jacksonville because I did see that Zach Wilson was starting. When they put Strevler in, I was just like, son of because he started to run all over. I thought he was going to put up some points, but thankfully he did not, and they turned the ball over again, and Jacksonville managed to hold him to just 3. The 19 points, it's the most most that they've had in a while, or they've had, some good games in the past, but I was happy to have that plugged in. That being said, New Orleans is probably going to put up like 35 against me because that's just fantasy. Overall, yeah, Patrick Mahomes, Jerick McKinnon, and Travis Kelce going up against that 31st ranked defense in Seattle does not make my feelings giddy. I'm expecting a solid 40 out of all three of them, and so with those three putting up 40, that's his 120. He could probably bench the rest of his players, and I honestly suggest you use your commissioner powers to make that a reality.
Just bench his players.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, we already talked about Kamara not having the most successful weeks recently, but he's due for a big game. He's in Cleveland where the weather is a little bit more spotty, and it's going to be a little bit more of a run game. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not too sure my team is going to live up to that projection. If I'm lucky, neither will his. And maybe Patrick Mahomes and Jerick McKinnon and Travis Kelce are benched in the second quarter because they're already up by 45. But if that is the case, then it's likely because they did a really good job.
Right. All right, Josh, go ahead and put your official pick here then. It sounds like you're leaning Bradley already, but who do you like? Do you like Bradley or do you like yourself?
I mean, I love myself, but I'm going to go with Bradley in the matchup just because of his Jerick McKinnon's upswing recently. Ramondre Stevenson is still kind of a little banged up on my end, and then Devontae Adams has Derek Carr throwing the rock blindly up in the air to not Devontae Adams. So yeah, I got to go with Bradley just because of if they were playing a solid defense, if the Chiefs were playing a solid defense, I might lean the other way, but nope.
Yeah, I will go Bradley as well. So we're both in agreement. We both have Eric and Bradley making the championship, which is unfortunate for the Mitchell household, but you guys can fight for it third next week. And there's still a lot of football left. I'm not saying anything here is a foregone conclusion. It's just how we feel in the moment before most games have been played. And Josh, I don't know if you know this, but we've been wrong a lot about a lot of stuff over the 5 years of the podcast. So anything can happen.
Yep. Yeah, I'm kind of pulling out for maybe Eric's team gets food poisoning, and Nikita wins, and then I pull out a win because Bradley hit the devil's lettuce a little too hard and decided to bench everybody, and then it's a Mitchell household championship game.
That would be beautiful as well. I would love to see that. But all right, Josh, so you don't want to talk about your personal... I know we're at already overtime, but you don't want to talk about your personal playoffs yet left or anything? I know you said you only in one league. Oh, I suppose you did. Sorry, that was not a jab. That was a genuine mistake. I don't need to go through all my matchups. Just the biggest thing I have a question on you on, Josh, is so in my final flex spot here, and I'm in the BSB league, one of the cheaper leagues I'm in. Right now I have Brian Robinson. Just kind of that's who I played last week in the flex, but they're playing at San Francisco, the best defense in the league by a mile. And so I'm wondering, do I bench Ryan Robinson for someone like this? And I'm curious on your input. Okay, I've got Chuba Hubbard, probably not, but they're playing Detroit. I have Demarcus Robinson, who is currently the number one receiver in Baltimore. We have Cortland Sutton, who has missed a couple weeks with a hamstring, but he should be back on Sunday. Or we have Pat Freiermuth, who did absolutely nothing last week, but has a couple good games this year. Do any of those guys outrank Brian Robinson for you, or no?
I might lean more towards Chuba Hubbard, actually, just because they are going up against Detroit. That matchup is a little bit juicy for him, so that's where I would personally lean. But you did say that you weren't necessarily a fan of that idea either.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what I should do. It's kind of disgusting, honestly. But I'm going to get beat by Micah no matter what. So, I mean, if anything, I would have to throw in some sort of Hail Mary type player. I don't know. I might just leave Brian Robinson and we'll see. But I was just curious if you had any thoughts on that. But that's it. I'm luckily playing in a couple games. I'm playing against the Bronx Bombers. I'm playing against My Horn Can Pierce the Sky. I'm playing against Jamar Got That Ship, and then I'm in the championship for Bradley's Guillotine League as well. It's a 2-week ship against 2 other people, but I feel blessed to be there. Anything else you want to say, Josh? Any storylines you're excited for this slate of football we have in front of us, or do you just want to get the hell out of here, pal?
I want to get out because Nikita did say to keep it to 20, 25 minutes this week. We've already got 35 minutes under our belt. So
you're a bad listener.
I apologize to my wife, and I am going to go ahead and bid my adieu to you, sir, and wish you a Merry Christmas.
All right. Merry Christmas to you as well, Josh. And we'll talk to everyone on Tuesday. Good luck to everyone in their playoff matchups, and bye.
Bye.
Santa baby, slip a sable under the tree for me.
I'm not going to play that whole song and get us copyright.
Happy Toyota-thon, Carmel.
Go ahead and give me somewhere between 5 and 15 words, whatever number you're feeling right. Just so you know, we can get you honed in here.
Do they have to be words?
You know what? We'll take it.